Hi guys, my name is Casey. Welcome to our channel. This is my husband, John.
Hello.
We've been married for about almost 8 years now. Tonight on Behind the Scenes with the Griffetts, we're going to introduce ourselves and really tell you a little bit about our journey with autism and PTSD and really where it affects our life. Our life does tend to be pretty chaotic, I would say. Would you agree? But we really live with it and just kind of own it. I think anybody stepping into our shoes would kind of go a little crazy with some of the stuff that we have happen, to say the least. As you can tell, he's not really thrilled right now. You can see it on his face. But that's really just going to be because of with the topics that we're going to be talking about. He's not really one to share a lot, so this is really him kind of stepping out of his box and his comfort zone. But I really think that this is going to help him in the long run. So a little bit about us starting off. You know, we have 3 boys: Austin, who's 14, Zach, who's 6, and Jacob, who's 4. Jacob has autism. We found out at about, 18 months? 16, 18 months?
18 months.
About 18 months. He wasn't the typical baby, and it was really hard not to try to compare him with Zach. He was a miserable baby. He had his moments of happiness, but he just miserable.
Avoided eye contact.
Yeah. Just didn't walk until about 12 or about 16 months, I think it was, 14,
Yeah.
16 months. He wasn't making eye contact. He didn't...
Wasn't verbal.
Yeah, he wasn't saying the normal mama dada type things. So it was a struggle, again, not to compare him to Zach. With Zach, he just kind of took off and flourished, and he's still trying to be center of attention. Hello. And he's just like me. And it really was hard for us looking at it and not knowing where to go. You know, not having really anybody to talk to about it. I mean, we did. I mean, we had each other, but at the same time, we didn't have anybody with the knowledge about autism at that time. And it was something extremely new to both of us, to where it took him a really long time for me to talk him into letting Jacob go and get evaluated.
Figured he was a late bloomer. The verbal thing is what mainly set it off for us to get him checked out.
And the eye contact, I think, too. I mean, you'd call his name and you'd be literally right in front of him, talking right to him, and he's avoiding eye contact at the entire time. If he'd look at you, he'd look at you for 1-2 seconds and then immediately was averting back to whatever he was doing. It really took the push when my parents came down, I think. With my mom working, my mom works for mental health, and she's worked for the hospital for 20-something years. And she said something in the nicest way possible, but really took me to the side and said, hey, I really think you need to get him evaluated. And that's where the battle between him and I came in of, hey, I think he should get evaluated. You did not want him to be evaluated at all. Hey, he's fine, he'll grow out of it. And kind of went behind his back and made an appointment. He wasn't really happy about it, but once we got there and they started to really evaluate and look at the things he was doing and what we were telling them he was and wasn't doing, it definitely made us take a step back and reevaluate everything.
There were some things that I disagreed with as far as the testing, but you'll have that.
I mean, you know, you're not gonna always agree with everything. And with Jacob, you know, there's not, all kids with autism are not the same, just like everyone with PTSD is not the same. They're different experiences, they're different things, you think different things. Everybody has their own opinion, and regardless of what that is, no one's ever going to be able to walk in your shoes and understand what's going on with you. And I think that's why we're kind of taking that step and that jump to really start making videos to express what we go through and really try to help someone where we didn't have that help. I know I do have one girl, Megan, I love you. You've kind of been there to address any questions.
Amazing.
She is amazing. Any questions that we have. She is an autism mom, and she's got two kids with special needs, and
Her husband's in the service as well.
yep, and I bow down to her. I truly do. Having one is hard enough, but two is just, I praise her, seriously. But jumping into the starting point with John with PTSD. PTSD really is a silent killer. You know, after John got medically discharged from the Army, I didn't know what it was. I really didn't know the signs to really look for. You know, we had just had we just had Zach. And 6 months after having Zach, we moved to Indiana. So there was a whirlwind of things going on, of him getting out, having Zach, preparing to move. So signs you're just not gonna see in that point. You know, you're just starting to live your life and get each other back and be able to start experiencing things. And that was the first time we'd actually lived together. We'd stay with each other here and there, but we never lived with each other until after we were married, which is pretty cool in a sense. But I mean, do you want me to read the definition of PTSD, and then you can kind of go from there?
That's fine if you want to read it.
Okay. So PTSD definition: the condition may last months or years, with triggers that can bring back memories of the trauma accompanied by intense emotional and physical reactions. Symptoms may include nightmares or unwanted memories of the trauma, avoidance of situations that bring back memories of the trauma, heightened reaction, anxiety or depressed mood. Treatment includes different types of trauma-focused psychotherapy, as well as medications to manage symptoms. This is him. Come here, Gunnar. Sorry.
I went back-to-back deployments. I had 11 months dwell time. I got deployed to Iraq. Being in aviation, it's kind of a small brotherhood, about 25 people per troop. I kind of almost knew everybody by first name basis whenever it came to the squadron. Iraq, I was familiar with the 4 pilots that I wound up losing. It was January, about like it is now, and we had a report that we had 2 aircraft that hadn't came back yet. They were supposed to check in. I was part of a downed aircraft recovery team. Whenever we had radio confirmation that something had happened, little did I know that I was going to have to go out and clean up, you know, remains and aircraft wreckage. Directly following that, I was actually put on security duty to guard the wreckage while investigation was being taken place. shortly after that, I was actually assigned to the troop, which lost the pilots. Now, I had went through, your typical life-saving class and such forth with those guys. We stuck each other with IVs and yada yada. I got drug on my face by one of the pilots on the emergency sled. Yeah, I mean, one was a pretty boy that everybody always made bets with on who was going to get the most female hit on, and yeah, so I got assigned to that troop, and not knowing how to deal with my feelings, I kind of bottled everything. They were dealing with it on an emotional aspect, where I was dealing with it on a psychological. I got injured while I was in Iraq, came back, and did physical therapy, pool therapy, chiropractic, did x-ray and MRI, found out that I had actually broke one of my vertebrae and that I had a cyst inside of my spinal cord. The demand for soldiers was high, the body count was low, so I was requested to go on my second deployment. They really needed me. It wasn't until I knew I was kind of being a jerk, but it wasn't until, I was informed that I was being a complete dick, that I knew I had something going on. It was something that I didn't want to admit to. I was informed and told, I should go talk to behavioral health. I was a little embarrassed and kind of set back trying to stay hidden whenever I was going to see for my first evaluation. Little did I know that one of my current pilots was actually walking through the hallway, so it was somebody that I was deployed with on the previous deployment. Kind of made me feel okay a little bit. Still nervous. I went in and we did PMRT, PDRT, I forget what it's called. It was a new treatment at that point in time. Started the procedure, started working through all my problems, the traumatic, encounters that I had. Everything from, whether it's visions that I had seen, smells that I had, memories that I had, nightmares, reliving events that took place during my first deployment. About that time, I had returned back shortly after me and her had gotten married, and I heard the news that we had lost another fellow pilot in Bagram, Afghanistan. And after I got back, we wound up losing two of our guys shortly thereafter.
Back after R&R, correct?
Yes.
So after he came home, we got married. He went back overseas.
Right.
So if that helps to clarify. Enough.
Stop.
Okay.
So I was receiving counseling. I was trying to deal with one event when being introduced to another. Whenever I returned back from my second deployment, with the injuries that I had sustained during my first deployment, and it actually worsened versus getting better.
Enough.
I had seen a specialist, Syracuse, New York. He told me I was going to have multiple surgeries. The type of surgery that I would have to have is not one that they want to partake in, just due to my age. I do have a cyst inside of my spinal cord, and they said that they would have to go in from the front and the back. They would have to collapse the lung, have a special surgeon on the front side, special surgeon on the back side. So they decided it was in my